The day Dr. Sarah Chun discovered that Mount Everest was artificial changed everything humanity thought it knew about Earth's history. What began as routine geological sampling at 28,000 feet revealed something that should have been impossible: synthetic materials woven into the mountain's very core, bearing isotopic signatures that predated human civilization by millions of years. Sarah's hands trembled as she examined the core sample through her portable microscope at Base Camp 4. The material looked organic at first glance, but the molecular structure defied every law of natural formation she had studied in her 20-year career as a geologist. The crystalline lattice showed clear signs of engineering with mathematical precision that nature simply could not achieve through random processes. "This can't be right," she whispered to her research partner, Dr. James Morrison, who was monitoring her readings from the expedition's main camp. "The dating shows this material is 3.2 million years old, but it's clearly manufactured. The atomic arrangement is too perfect, too organized." What Sarah had found was the first concrete evidence of what would later be called the predecessor civilization, but the implications were far more disturbing than anyone initially realized. Earth wasn't just the home of an ancient advanced species. It was their industrial graveyard. Within 6 months, Sarah's discovery triggered a global scientific revolution. Research teams dispatched to every continent began finding similar anomalous materials embedded in supposedly natural formations. The Grand Canyon revealed massive extraction scars that had been filled in and weathered over geological time. The Sahara Desert, when examined with ground-penetrating radar, showed regular geometric patterns beneath the sand that could only be the remains of enormous surface mining operations. Dr. Elena Vasquez, leading the Amazon research team, made perhaps the most unsettling discovery of all. Deep beneath the rainforest canopy, her team found what appeared to be natural clearings, but soil analysis revealed contamination patterns consistent with massive industrial dumping. The trees growing in these areas showed genetic modifications that seemed designed to process heavy metals and toxic compounds from the soil. "The trees aren't native species at all," Elena reported to the emergency United Nations Science Council that had been convened to address the mounting evidence. "They're biological machines, engineered to clean up contaminated soil." The entire Amazon rainforest appears to be a remediation project that's been running for millions of years. Marine geologist Dr. Kenji Tanaka was studying deep ocean sediment layers when he made a connection that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The mysterious manganese nodules that carpet vast areas of the ocean floor weren't natural mineral formations as previously believed. They were waste products, carefully designed to encapsulate dangerous industrial byproducts and sink them to the deepest parts of the ocean. "The patterns are too uniform, too strategic," Kenji explained to a packed auditorium at the International Oceanographic Institute. "These nodules are positioned specifically to prevent deep water currents from carrying their contents to shallower areas. Whoever placed them understood ocean dynamics better than we do today." The most chilling discovery came when Kenji's team began opening the nodules. Inside each one was a core of materials that shouldn't exist naturally on Earth. Exotic alloys, artificial isotopes, and compounds that suggested industrial processes involving technologies far beyond current human capability. The oceans weren't just hiding evidence of ancient civilization. They were serving as a containment system for that civilization's most dangerous waste. Climate scientist Dr. Amara Okafor was analyzing ice core data from Antarctica when she noticed atmospheric composition anomalies that correlated perfectly with the timeline emerging from other research. Carbon dioxide levels from 3 million years ago showed massive spikes followed by gradual declines that matched no known natural cycle. The atmospheric data tells a story of industrial activity on a scale that dwarfs anything humans have achieved, Amara reported. The carbon signatures suggest massive energy consumption, possibly from fusion or antimatter processes. But then there's a sudden stop followed by what appears to be deliberate atmospheric scrubbing. The implications hit Amara like a physical blow. The ice contained trace amounts of artificial particles designed to bind with atmospheric pollutants and precipitate them out of the air. The planet's entire atmospheric system had been artificially rebalanced after some kind of industrial catastrophe. Deep mining operations around the world began reporting strange discoveries that took on new meaning in light of the mounting evidence. What miners had previously dismissed as unusual rock formations were revealed to be compressed debris layers. Entire geological strata were composed of processed materials, metals refined to impossible purities, and synthetic compounds that had been compressed under millions of years of geological pressure. Dr. Robert King, a mining engineer turned archaeologist, descended into the Witwatersrand gold mines of South Africa with new eyes. What he found revolutionized understanding of Earth's geology. The gold deposits themselves showed signs of artificial concentration, as if precious metals had been extracted, refined, and then abandoned when the operation ceased. The patterns suggest mining on an industrial scale that lasted for thousands of years. Robert reported to increasingly shell-shocked scientific communities worldwide. But this wasn't extraction for export. The refined materials were left behind, as if the miners simply walked away from everything they had built. Geneticist Dr. Lisa Park was studying evolutionary anomalies when she uncovered perhaps the most disturbing evidence yet. DNA analysis of Earth's oldest life forms revealed genetic modifications that appeared to be artificial. Microorganisms in deep ocean vents, bacteria in ancient rock formations, and even some plant species showed genetic sequences that served no apparent evolutionary purpose but were perfectly designed for processing industrial waste. Life on Earth isn't just adapted to the environment. Lisa reported to a joint session of the World Health Organization and the International Union of Biological Sciences. Much of it appears to have been specifically engineered to clean up after industrial activity. We're not looking at natural evolution. We're looking at a planetary scale cleanup project. The most chilling discovery was that many of these organisms were still active, still processing trace amounts of exotic materials that continued to leach from deep underground deposits. Earth's entire biosphere had been converted into a living filtration system, and it had been running autonomously for millions of years. As evidence mounted from every corner of Earth, a horrifying picture began to emerge. Dr. Chun, who had made the initial discovery, found herself at the center of an international task force charged with assembling the complete story. The data painted a picture that challenged everything humans believed about their home planet. Earth appears to have been the industrial center of a civilization that operated on a galactic scale, Sarah reported to a joint session of the United Nations General Assembly and the world's leading scientific organizations. The evidence suggests they conducted mining, manufacturing, and waste processing operations here for approximately 50,000 years before abandoning the planet entirely. The precision of the abandonment was what made the discovery so unsettling. Every indication suggested that the predecessors had methodically shut down their operations, implemented massive cleanup protocols, and then simply left. The biological systems they engineered continued to function long after their departure, slowly processing the industrial waste they had left behind. Archaeological surveys using the new understanding of what to look for began revealing the true scope of the predecessor civilization's activities. What humans had always assumed to be natural mountain ranges were revealed to be carefully shaped waste containment systems. The Rocky Mountains, the Himalayas, the Andes all showed signs of artificial modification designed to prevent contaminated materials from spreading across continental watersheds. Dr. Morrison, working with an international team of geologists, discovered that major river systems had been artificially diverted millions of years ago to flow through processing zones before reaching the oceans. The Amazon, the Nile, the Mississippi all showed evidence of artificial modification that had been slowly erased by millions of years of erosion, but was still detectable with advanced scanning technology. The entire planet was an industrial complex, Morrison reported to increasingly horrified audiences. Every major geographical feature served a purpose in either extraction, processing, or waste containment. What we call nature is actually the remnants of the most sophisticated industrial operation ever conceived. As evidence accumulated, teams of engineers and physicists began attempting to reverse engineer the predecessor technologies based on the residual evidence. What they discovered suggested capabilities that seemed almost magical by current human standards. Materials that were impossibly strong yet lightweight, energy signatures that suggested fusion reactions at room temperature, and manufacturing techniques that could manipulate matter at the atomic level. Dr. Yuki Sato, a material scientist at Tokyo University, spent months analyzing microscopic fragments recovered from deep excavations. The molecular engineering is beyond anything we can currently achieve, she reported. These materials show signs of being assembled atom by atom, with precision that our best nanotechnology can't match. But the most disturbing aspect is that they were designed to self-destruct after a specific period, leaving only trace amounts of evidence. The implications were staggering. The predecessors hadn't just built an industrial civilization. They had built one designed to erase itself. Every piece of technology, every structure, every tool had been engineered with planned obsolescence that would remove almost all traces of their existence over geological time. Environmental engineer Dr. Carlos Mendoza made the connection that tied together all the previous discoveries. The predecessors hadn't just abandoned Earth. They had converted it into a sophisticated waste processing facility before they left. Every natural system on the planet had been modified to deal with specific types of industrial contamination. The hydrological cycle has been artificially enhanced to process water-soluble contaminants, Mendoza explained to the World Environmental Council. The carbon cycle has been modified with engineered organisms that break down synthetic compounds. Even plate tectonics appears to have been influenced to ensure that the most dangerous materials get subducted deep into the mantle where they can be safely contained. The discovery that even geological processes have been influenced by the predecessors sent shockwaves through every scientific discipline. Earth wasn't just their former home. It was their masterpiece of environmental engineering, designed to clean itself long after they departed. Chronologist Dr. Rebecca Stone was tasked with assembling a comprehensive timeline of predecessor activity based on all available evidence. What she discovered painted a picture of a civilization that operated on timescales humans could barely comprehend. The evidence suggests active industrial operations for approximately 50,000 years, beginning roughly 3.5 million years ago, Stone reported. But the shutdown phase appears to have taken another 20,000 years. They didn't just leave, they conducted the most comprehensive environmental remediation project in planetary history. The timeline showed three distinct phases: massive extraction and manufacturing operations that altered the planet's geology, a transition period where biological systems were engineered to process industrial waste, and finally, a cleanup phase where artificial systems were implemented to continue the remediation process after the predecessors departed. Perhaps the most puzzling aspect of the predecessor civilization was the question of why they left. Dr. Chun, leading a multidisciplinary team investigating this question, found evidence that suggested the departure wasn't voluntary. Atmospheric analysis from the final period shows signs of massive energy releases that weren't consistent with normal industrial activity, Chin reported. We're seeing isotopic signatures that suggest either a major accident or a deliberate destruction of some kind of advanced technology. The evidence suggested that something had gone wrong with the predecessor civilization in their final period on Earth. Whether it was an industrial accident, a war, or something else entirely remained unclear, but it was significant enough to cause them to abandon a planet-spanning industrial operation that had been running successfully for tens of thousands of years. As the full scope of the discovery became clear, humanity began grappling with the implications for their own civilization. Earth wasn't a pristine, natural world that humans had begun to damage. It was an already heavily modified planet that was still in the process of recovering from previous industrial activity. Environmental scientist Dr. Patricia Williams led a team investigating what this meant for current human environmental policy. "We're not damaging a natural ecosystem," she reported to increasingly concerned environmental organizations worldwide. "We're potentially interfering with a remediation system that's been running for millions of years." The discovery raised profound questions about human environmental impact. Were current pollution levels actually helping or hindering the planet's ongoing cleanup processes? Were some areas that humans considered pristine wilderness actually carefully maintained biological systems designed for waste processing? As research continued, teams began developing new technologies to investigate deeper into Earth's modified systems. Dr. Tanaka's oceanographic team developed specialized deep-sea exploration vehicles that could analyze the ocean floor without disturbing the apparent waste containment systems they had discovered. What they found in the deepest ocean trenches changed everything once again. Massive mechanical systems, dormant but intact, sat on the ocean floor like sleeping giants. These machines appear to be designed for processing the most dangerous waste materials, powered by geothermal energy and designed to operate autonomously for millions of years. "We're looking at technology that makes our most advanced systems look like stone tools," Tanaka reported to a joint session of engineering and environmental organizations. "These machines are still functional after 3.5 million years of operation. They're using geothermal energy sources we can barely detect, and they're still processing materials we can't even identify." Dr. Park's genetic research revealed that the biological component of the predecessor cleanup system was far more extensive than initially realized. Every major ecosystem on Earth contained genetically modified organisms designed for specific remediation tasks. The modifications were so subtle and so ancient that they had been incorporated into what scientists considered natural evolutionary processes. "We're not just looking at a few engineered species," Park reported. "The entire web of life on Earth appears to have been modified to support the cleanup operation. Predator-prey relationships, symbiotic partnerships, even reproductive cycles have been influenced to optimize the processing of industrial waste materials." The implications were staggering. Earth's biodiversity wasn't just the result of natural evolution. It was a carefully designed biological machine that had been maintaining itself for millions of years. Every extinction event, every evolutionary adaptation, every ecological change had been influenced by the underlying need to process the remnants of predecessor industrial activity. Climate research revealed that even Earth's weather patterns have been artificially influenced. Dr. Okafor's team discovered evidence of massive atmospheric processors that had been built into mountain ranges and operated for thousands of years before being deliberately shut down and concealed. The evidence suggests that planetary weather was artificially controlled during the final phase of predecessor occupation. Okafor reported, "Global temperature, precipitation patterns, even the composition of the atmosphere were being actively managed to optimize the cleanup operations." The discovery explained several long-standing mysteries in climate science. Ice age cycles that didn't match natural orbital patterns, atmospheric composition changes that seemed to defy known chemical processes, and weather pattern shifts that occurred too rapidly for natural causes. Deep excavation projects began revealing vast underground networks that connected all the major continents. These weren't natural cave systems or geological features. They were artificial transportation and processing networks that had been carved through solid rock using technologies humans couldn't identify. Dr. King, leading underground exploration efforts, reported discoveries that defied belief. "We're looking at tunnel systems that span thousands of miles, connecting every major industrial site we've identified. The precision of the construction is impossible by any known technique. The tunnels appear to have been created by some kind of matter displacement technology that left perfectly smooth walls without any tool marks." The tunnel networks suggested a level of planetary engineering that dwarfed anything humans had ever conceived. The predecessors hadn't just built industrial facilities. They had created a planet-spanning infrastructure that allowed them to move materials and energy anywhere on Earth within a matter of hours. Energy researchers attempting to understand how the predecessor civilization had powered their massive operations made discoveries that challenged fundamental understanding of physics. Evidence suggested they had tapped directly into planetary energy sources, possibly including the Earth's magnetic field, rotational energy, and even gravitational fields. Dr. Maria Santos, leading the energy investigation team, reported findings that seemed almost impossible. We're seeing evidence of technology that could extract energy from gravitational fields, quantum vacuum fluctuations, and even temporal differential fields. The energy signatures suggest they had access to power sources that could run planetary-scale operations indefinitely. The power systems appeared to have been designed with the same self-destructing principles as everything else in predecessor technology. After their departure, the power sources had gradually shut down, leaving only faint traces that could be detected with the most sensitive modern instruments. Archaeological investigation revealed that the predecessors had maintained a communication network that operated on principles completely unknown to human science. Rather than electromagnetic radiation, they appeared to have used quantum entanglement effects that could transmit information instantaneously across any distance. Dr. Alan Foster, a quantum physicist investigating the communication technology, made discoveries that revolutionized understanding of information theory. They weren't just communicating across planetary distances. The evidence suggests they maintained real-time contact with other star systems. We're looking at a civilization that operated on a galactic scale, with Earth serving as just one industrial facility in a vast network. The communication networks had been systematically dismantled before the predecessors departed, but traces of the quantum structures they had used remained embedded in certain crystalline formations around the world. These formations still showed slight quantum coherence effects that defied current understanding of how quantum systems should behave. Industrial archaeology revealed that predecessor manufacturing capabilities had exceeded anything in human experience. They appear to have been able to manipulate matter at the subatomic level, creating materials with properties that seem to violate conservation laws. Dr. Zhang Wei, leading the materials investigation, reported discoveries that challenged basic physics. We're finding materials that are lighter than they should be based on their density, stronger than their molecular structure should allow, and some that appear to exhibit controlled gravitational effects. The manufacturing processes involve techniques we can't even theoretically explain. The most disturbing discovery was that much of this advanced manufacturing capability had been used primarily for waste processing and environmental cleanup. The predecessors had possessed godlike technological abilities, but they had used them primarily to clean up after their own industrial activities. Investigation into the predecessor departure revealed that it hadn't been a hasty evacuation, but rather a carefully planned withdrawal that took place over thousands of years. Every aspect of their civilization had been systematically dismantled, with dangerous technologies either destroyed or hidden beyond human ability to access. Dr. Stone's chronological analysis revealed the scope of the departure protocols. They didn't just leave, they conducted what appears to be the most comprehensive decommissioning operation in history. Every piece of technology was either destroyed, hidden, or converted to support the cleanup operations they left behind. The protocols appear to have been designed with the explicit intention of preventing any successor species from accessing predecessor technology. Everything had been engineered to self-destruct or become undetectable within a specific time frame, ensuring that the cleanup systems would continue to operate while removing all traces of the civilization that built them. Perhaps the most unsettling discovery was that the predecessors had left behind monitoring systems that were still active. Subtle quantum sensors embedded in key geographical locations appeared to be collecting data about planetary conditions and possibly transmitting it somewhere beyond Earth. Dr. Foster's quantum research team made the discovery that sent chills through the entire scientific community. The monitoring systems are not only still active, they appear to have been recording human civilization since its emergence. We're being watched, and the data is being transmitted to recipients we can't identify. The monitoring systems were so advanced and so well concealed that they had been operating undetected for millions of years. They appear to be powered by the same geothermal and gravitational energy sources that ran the cleanup systems, ensuring they could continue operating indefinitely. As the full scope of predecessor civilization became clear, humanity began grappling with fundamental questions about their own place in the universe. Were humans a natural evolution on a recovering planet, or were they somehow connected to the predecessors themselves? Dr. Park's genetic research revealed disturbing possibilities. Human DNA contains sequences that appear to serve no evolutionary purpose, but are perfectly designed for processing specific types of environmental contamination. We may not just be living on a predecessor dump site. We may be part of their cleanup system. The implications were staggering. Human civilization might not be an independent development, but rather a biological component of the predecessor remediation project. Human industrial activity, environmental modification, and even space exploration might all be serving purposes that humans didn't understand. As human investigation of predecessor systems intensified, researchers began noticing changes in the planetary cleanup systems they had discovered. Biological remediation processes seemed to be accelerating. Dormant mechanical systems showed signs of increased activity, and atmospheric processing appeared to be intensifying. Dr. Williams' environmental monitoring team reported changes that couldn't be explained by natural processes. It's as if our investigation of these systems has triggered some kind of response. Cleanup activities that have been running at background levels for millions of years are suddenly increasing in intensity. The changes suggested that the predecessor systems were designed to respond to the emergence of technological civilization on Earth. Human space exploration, nuclear technology, and advanced manufacturing might be interpreted by the monitoring systems as signs that the cleanup phase was nearing completion. Continued investigation revealed that Earth's role in predecessor civilization had been even more significant than initially realized. Evidence suggested that Earth hadn't just been an industrial facility. It had been their primary research and development center, where they had conducted experiments that affected the evolution of life throughout the galaxy. Dr. Chen's geological team made discoveries that revealed the true scope of predecessor activities. We're finding evidence that they weren't just mining materials from Earth. They were using Earth as a testing ground for technologies that modified the fundamental properties of matter and energy. Some of the experiments appear to have affected the laws of physics in this region of space. The discoveries suggested that human science itself might be operating under conditions that have been artificially modified by predecessor experiments. Physical constants that scientists assumed were universal might actually be local modifications that existed only in Earth's immediate vicinity. Space-based observations using new understanding of what to look for began revealing that the predecessor civilization had left traces throughout the solar system. Every planet, asteroid, and major moon showed signs of modification that had previously been interpreted as natural geological processes. Dr. Sato's expanded materials research revealed that asteroid mining operations had been conducted throughout the solar system on a scale that dwarfed the activities on Earth. The asteroid belt appears to be the remains of a planet that was completely dismantled for its raw materials. Mars shows signs of massive atmospheric processing operations. Even the gas giants appear to have been modified to serve as energy sources. The solar system wasn't just Earth's neighborhood. It was the remains of a vast industrial complex that had operated for hundreds of thousands of years. Earth had served as the administrative and research center for an operation that had transformed every major body in the solar system. Analysis of deep space observations revealed that similar modifications existed in other star systems throughout the galaxy. The predecessors hadn't been a single-planet civilization. They had been a galactic empire that had operated on timescales measured in millions of years. Dr. Foster's quantum communication research revealed traces of information networks that had connected thousands of star systems in real-time communication. We're looking at evidence of a civilization that treated interstellar distances the way we treat intercity travel. They had infrastructure spanning the entire galaxy. The revelation put human civilization in perspective. Humanity wasn't the first intelligent species to emerge in the galaxy. They were possibly the first to emerge after a galactic civilization had withdrawn, leaving their former territories to recover from millions of years of industrial development. As evidence accumulated, researchers began questioning why such an advanced civilization would have spent so much time and energy on environmental cleanup. The scale of the remediation efforts suggested purposes that went far beyond simple environmental responsibility. Dr. Mendoza's environmental engineering team proposed a theory that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The cleanup operations weren't designed just to restore planetary environments. The evidence suggests they were preparing these worlds for something specific. Earth and thousands of other planets appear to have been deliberately prepared to support the evolution of intelligence. The theory suggested that the predecessor withdrawal hadn't been an end, but a beginning. They had spent millions of years preparing suitable worlds throughout the galaxy, then withdrawn to allow new civilizations to develop under carefully controlled conditions. As human investigation intensified, dormant predecessor systems throughout the planet began showing signs of activation. Deep ocean mechanical systems that had been operating at minimal levels for millions of years began increasing their activity. Biological systems started evolving at accelerated rates, developing new capabilities for processing industrial contamination. Dr. Park's biological monitoring revealed changes that defied explanation. Species that have been stable for millions of years are suddenly showing rapid evolutionary changes. New organisms are appearing that seem designed specifically to process human-produced contamination. It's as if the entire biosphere is adapting to prepare for something. The changes suggested that human technological development was being interpreted by predecessor systems as a signal that Earth was ready for the next phase of some vast plan that had been set in motion millions of years ago. Investigation of the monitoring systems revealed that they weren't just collecting data, they were preparing for some kind of contact event. Quantum communication systems that had been dormant for millions of years showed signs of preparing for activation. Dr. Foster's team discovered protocols embedded in the monitoring systems that appear to be designed to initiate contact when certain technological and environmental thresholds were reached. The systems are designed to make contact when the emerging civilization demonstrates specific capabilities and the planetary cleanup reaches predetermined levels. The protocols suggested that human civilization was approaching thresholds that would trigger active intervention by whatever remained of predecessor civilization. The cleanup of Earth wasn't just environmental restoration. It was preparation for humanity's integration into a galactic community. The most shocking discovery came when researchers realized that recent human technological developments had been subtly influenced by predecessor systems. Breakthrough technologies in quantum computing, materials science, and energy production show design principles that matched predecessor engineering. Dr. Santos' energy research revealed the disturbing truth. Human technological development hasn't been independent. We've been subtly guided by systems that have been influencing our scientific discoveries and technological innovations. We think we've been developing our own technology, but we've actually been following a predetermined path. The revelation meant that human civilization hadn't been developing naturally since discovering agriculture. Instead, predecessor systems had been gradually guiding human development, ensuring that humanity would eventually develop the capabilities necessary to join whatever galactic civilization the predecessors had become. As the full scope of the predecessor legacy became clear, humanity found itself facing a choice that would determine the future of their species. Earth wasn't just their home. It was a carefully prepared launching pad designed to guide human development toward integration with a galactic civilization that operated on principles far beyond current human understanding. The monitoring systems that had been watching human development for thousands of years were preparing to make contact, but that contact would fundamentally change what it meant to be human. Humanity could choose to remain as they were, continuing to live on their carefully maintained planet while the cleanup systems gradually completed their work, or they could accept their intended role as the newest members of a galactic community that had been preparing for their emergence for millions of years. The discovery that Earth was an exhausted quarry had revealed something far more profound than ancient industrial activity. It had revealed that human existence itself was part of a vast experiment in guided evolution, conducted on a galactic scale by a civilization whose capabilities and motivations remained almost entirely mysterious. The waste dump humanity called home was actually the most sophisticated nursery ever created, designed to nurture the development of intelligence under carefully controlled conditions. As research continued and predecessor systems showed increasing signs of activity, one thing became clear: the age of human isolation was ending. Whether humanity was ready or not, they were about to discover their true place in a galaxy that had been waiting millions of years for them to mature enough to join the community that had always been their intended destiny. The exhausted quarry had served its purpose, and its children were finally ready to learn why they had been so carefully cultivated in the ruins of their predecessors' greatest achievement.